January 15th, 1978. The Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In the middle of the night, an intruder moved through the dark corridors, executing a frenzied, simultaneous attack on two sleeping students, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy. Investigators arrived to find a scene of immense brutality, but the killer himself had vanished. He demonstrated a terrifying capacity for violence, yet managed to slip away into the night without leaving a single obvious fingerprint or trail behind. The man eventually arrested for these crimes contradicted every expectation of what a monster should be. Theodore Robert Bundy was a handsome, articulate former law student who volunteered his free time answering calls at a local suicide crisis hotline. Beneath that polished exterior lay deep psychological fractures. Growing up, Bundy was led to believe his grandfather was his father, creating a quiet, simmering resentment. By his teenage years, he was exhibiting voyeuristic behavior. After a devastating breakup with an older woman he idolized, that underlying anger crystallized into an obsession with violent control. Law enforcement and the public in the 1970s possessed a fatal blind spot. People assumed that violent predators would be instantly recognizable by their appearance, leaving society defenseless against a killer cloaked in extreme charisma. Go back 4 years to the Pacific Northwest in 1974. Young women, including college students Linda Ann Healy and Susan Rancourt, began vanishing into thin air. An epidemic of disappearances was taking hold. The killer rarely used brute force to initiate contact. Instead, he weaponized empathy. He wore fake casts and rigid arm slings, stumbling through parking lots to manufacture an aura of vulnerability, luring his victims in by asking for their help. This map shows the geographical nightmare confronting police. You can see data points scattered across Washington, Oregon, and down into Utah. By constantly moving and carrying out attacks in remote, isolated locations, he turned the sheer size of the American West into a tool for evasion. Without a centralized national database, those state borders acted like concrete walls. A police department in Utah had no way of knowing that detectives in Washington were collecting the exact same clues about the exact same suspect. Bundy turned these systemic fractures and communication silos into an advantage, exploiting a justice system that simply wasn't built to communicate with itself across state lines. The first crack in his armor appeared in the fall of 1975. After botching the kidnapping of 17-year-old Debbie Kent in a Utah parking lot, Bundy was pulled over for a routine traffic stop. Police found burglary tools in his car, leading to his initial arrest. But he wouldn't stay in custody. In June 1977, taking advantage of minimal security, he jumped out of a jail window and disappeared, eventually making his way to Florida to begin a devastating final rampage. The terror escalated quickly. A month after the Chi Omega attack, he abducted 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, his youngest confirmed victim. The manhunt reached a state of total desperation. In the Northwest, separate threads of evidence began to converge. Witnesses described a man named Ted. Detective Keppel noted disappearances near 7-Elevens, and investigators confirmed the tan Volkswagen. The deadliest murder spree in American history ended with a quiet traffic stop. In February 1978, police in Pensacola, Florida, pulled over a stolen vehicle. The driver was arrested without incident, remaining chillingly polite and cooperative as the handcuffs clicked shut. Despite his reputation, his downfall required no special heroics. He was caught by compounding witness errors, basic investigative legwork, and a series of traffic stops. The 1979 Florida trial turned into a bizarre public spectacle. Bundy acted as his own attorney, dramatically confronting the very witnesses he had traumatized, attempting to portray himself as a victim of circumstance while the cameras rolled. This microscopic image shows the type of fiber evidence that destroyed his defense. Investigators found fibers inside his 1968 Volkswagen Beetle that matched the clothing worn by several of his victims, providing the definitive physical proof needed to secure a death sentence. Sitting on death row for the next decade, Bundy attempted to play one final game. He began confessing to approximately 30 murders, offering grim details only the killer would know. He traded these confessions for stays of execution, grasping for any remaining shred of control over the system. Time ran out on January 24, 1989. As he was executed in the elective chair at Florida State Prison, thousands gathered outside the gates in a massive, celebratory media circus that signified the end of an era. Those last-minute confessions stripped away his remaining mask of charm, revealing a powerless, deeply frightened man underneath the persona he had cultivated for years. Law enforcement could not afford to let a tragedy of this scale happen again. The investigative failures exposed by the case forced a total reconstruction of how police hunt serial killers. This case led directly to the creation of behavioral analysis units. The FBI developed the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, finally allowing local precincts to share data across state lines to catch killers who travel. The investigation proved the importance of victimology and established microscopic fiber analysis as a standard forensic tool, methods that are now taught in every major law enforcement academy. Ultimately, the case left society with a permanent, chilling lesson. Predators don't fit a visual stereotype, and a charismatic appearance provides no guarantee